only taught that only the one running the business is to benefit. And not even them. The people that own all the businesses that suppress the smaller businesses are the ones that are only meant to benefit. And the customers are supposed to come in there. And if you just shop, you're a fool. But we already saw what happened during the pandemic. If you stay home and save your money and don't shop, if that money does not circulate in the economy collapses. That's where the political power comes in, because the ruling elite, all they did was create trillions of dollars for themselves out of nowhere. Y'all gonna stay home in a pandemic? You're not gonna shop? You think I'm gonna suffer? Oh, hell no. Absolutely not. Get over there and write that bill and create trillions. Put it into the economy for us, and then blame the poor for they're abusing PP loans, and inflation is up because we gave everybody money and now they can go shop, and we gotta raise the price of the products to balance the scale. Nah. Kwame Ture was right. If you really want to end poverty, give poor people money.
When you claim you're Africanist, you're gonna get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Black and I'm proud. When you claim you're Africanist, you're gonna get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're gonna get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're gonna get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. Become a part of it. Embrace it. 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 When you claim you're Africanist, you're gonna get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud.
So, up next is our lecturer for today, Dr. Jared Ball. Give him a round of applause. I'm not bringing you up yet. Give him a pre-round of applause, right? You know. And let me see. I always try to think about something to say about a person that really sticks out to me before I read their bio, right? So Dr. Ball. Let me just go back a little bit. So I was at some event in a high school, I think it's a high school, elementary school, Utah, what is it, Utah what? Something. I don't know who, I think maybe Brother Haki was doing something, or maybe Jabari was doing something, Marshburn, Utah Marshburn High School, I think it was Brother Haki. And then Dr. Ball came in and he was talking about Kwanzaa in a way that I didn't necessarily like the way he was talking about Kwanzaa, you know what I mean? But anyway, nonetheless, it is what it is. He's critical, right? So let me think about what happened later after I saw Dr. Ball. You know, of course, he has the books like the what's the book about Malcolm X? The Lie of the Reinvention of Malcolm X. We used to sell. I don't know if we got a copy of it right now, but the Lie of the Reinvention of Malcolm X. I then began to see him. I just saw him everywhere. So nonetheless, I would just say what sticks out to me about Dr. Ball is his intellectual ability. I feel like he's very sharp, very, let's say, critical. And I think he has a lot to say. Just personally, I really appreciate him because I feel like he has the intellectual ability to look through the smoke. It doesn't always feel good when someone is one that looks through the smoke. And lots of times I've been, what is it called, y'all? Accused, thank you, of being that type of person. But I think he's a little worse than me. I don't know, it depends on what day.
It's all good.
But so that's why I really appreciate it. I really appreciate him because he has that ability. And it takes a lot of work to be that person. Because sometimes when you love your people, you have to deal with telling the truth in ways that people just don't want to hear it, but it's like taking that good medicine, it just doesn't taste good. But nonetheless, that's what sticks out to me about him, that he's a fighter, because it ain't always easy to share things that we just don't want to hear. So, with no further ado, I'll read his bio. Dr. Jared Ball is professor of communication and Africana Studies at Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland, and author of The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power. Dr. Ball is also the host of the podcast I Mix What I Like, co-founder of Black Power Media, which can be found on blackpowermedia.org. He can be found at I Mix What I Like on most social media, and his decades of emancipatory journalism, media, writing, and political work can be found on imixwhatilike.org. So with no further ado, just welcome our brother, Dr. Jared Ball.
Is it preferred down here over here?
However you want to do it.
If you don't mind, I'll stand for a little bit just because my...
However you want to do it.
First of all, greetings, everybody.
Greetings.
So before I get started, just a big shout out to the space, TNAT, Dr. Winkler. I appreciate all the people who've come out. So I appreciate the opportunity to come out and share some of my work and to exchange. And I definitely like the opportunity to build with folks, even if there's disagreement and debate. I mean, I think we have to be able to do that. So that said, I'm going to talk for probably, I'm trying to keep it to closer to 20 minutes just for the sake of time, and in case, so I can leave more time for discussion. So I'm going to rush a little bit, but I'm happy to be asked to follow up, or folks can either reach out to me personally, they can get a copy of the book, they can go to our website, they can check out the work for more. But I'm always around, easy to find, happy to build, so I appreciate you for having me. And the food here is dope. This is the first time I've eaten here, so a big shout out to the whole operation. Thank you. So initially, the way I approach the work, and what I'm usually interested in talking about is the context of and the relationship of internal colonialism, that is the condition Black people find themselves in here in the United States, the function of media within that context, and particularly the function of media as counterinsurgency, psychological warfare, propaganda, and all the other euphemisms for that we're used to hearing, like branding and marketing and advertising and entertainment and mass communication. All of these are euphemisms for the function of media within a colony, which is to suppress dissent, set definitions, narratives, and prepare people for their exploitation. Our relationship, that is African descended or African people, new Africans, pan-Africans, Black people, our relationship to the economy in this country and largely everywhere else, though my focus is this country in particular, is one of extraction and hostility. And that's all I simply mean by colonialism. Frantz Fanon once said colonialism is simply the theft of land and culture, that is all. And I largely agree. But my point is extraction. Take from us everything, cultural production, labor, everything to produce wealth for an ever decreasing amount of people. And when Forbes put out the statement a few weeks ago that 737 people in this country are worth over $5 trillion. When Professor Winkler is saying that whatever the point about me looking through the smoke or being critical or whatever, that's why I'm critical. I'm furious at this situation. So I love our people. I love to build. I want to smile and be happy. I know we have children and young people in this space. I don't want to be as angry publicly as I am, but I'm furious. This is a horrific situation, and the only reason it is sustainable is through, well, the number one reason at this point it is sustainable is the messaging and the media narratives that have been imposed on us. We've been conditioned to not take it seriously as those in power do. That is the production of psychological warfare to fill in the void when so many people obviously wake up and look outside and they say, we don't have anything. I'm working hard and other people have everything. A handful have everything. All of the labor I produce goes somewhere else. To fill that void, we get a never-ending barrage of messaging, ever more sophisticated, pervasive, and styled to target our audiences and our communities with this messaging that in a variety of ways discourages radical political analysis and the more militant forms of resistance. There are three areas of so-called interest convergence that I'm focused on here. Shout out to the late Derek Bell. And I'll just quickly go through them. 3 areas, particularly I'm going to sort of start after the Second World War. There's 3 areas since the Second World War that have converged here. The state, that is the United States government, its intelligence and military apparatus. Their goal to impose after the Second World War, when the United States was a singular superpower, to impose a version of US capitalism and democracy onto the world, starting with or incorporating the messaging targeting internally colonized Black and Indigenous and Latino populations here, with this idea that you don't need to struggle. You just need a good middle class, and the state, this country can provide it for you. The amount of work and effort that had gone into creating this idea in the global mind's eye that democracy and capitalism are the same thing and they all equal freedom. It's nonsense. And then specifically, the development of what Barrett Brown calls today the cyber-industrial complex all starts to emerge in the form that we know of it today back in the 40s and 50s. All designed to reduce consideration of the government and its capacity and capability to protect and reduce it, that is the government, to protecting the interests of the ruling elite and to convince the rest of us, you don't need government, you just need yourselves. The elite, meanwhile, capture the apparatus of government and turn it into something that protects their interests exclusively. So that's one, that is the state. The second is the business community, that in line with the state, collaborated to form a mass communications field of study, specifically to develop the tactics and study the tactics that would be used to produce the kinds of psychological warfare we suffer. And again, to work with the state to redirect labor interests away from unions, government, and entrepreneurial and toward entrepreneurialism. Don't look towards unions. Don't organize your labor. Don't look to the government to redistribute the wealth you've all already created. No. You, the poorest of the poor, start some businesses. This is all coming out of their literature. This is all something from, again, I'm starting my time clock, and it actually predates this, after the Second World War. This idea that people had started to realize, wait a minute, government can help us produce and organize our labor and protect our labor and make sure we have the resources we need. So after the Second World War, those in political and economic leadership said, no, we gotta break that. And then finally, the third area of focus for me here is the Black business and media commercial class, who took advantage and still take advantage of this opening in the oppressive apparatus, in the process, took advantage to say, we'll promise through messages of integrationism, assimilationism, middle classism, Black bourgeoisieism, we will promise to target our audiences with that message if you, the government, protect our ability to exist, and specifically if you, the corporate world, buy our ad space. And to this day, this is a major problem from everywhere from all of our beloved media, from Roland Martin to Earn Your Leisure to $1,000 worth of game, all these this whole Black media apparatus, funded by the most white conservative entities, all with the goal of targeting Black audiences with what is ultimately a white supremacist conservative argument meant to destroy our radical consciousness and desire to militantly organize and move. So I'm going to add here, as I've wrapped up the 3 areas of focus, I'm going to add here sort of what would ultimately be a concluding statement, but I want to say it initially, of what my solutions and goals are, because this is usually where I run into controversy, or one of the areas. So my argument around solutions and goals, it's really not that I don't have a solution, it's that the solution I've offered is usually just not seen as, it's not exciting, it's not encouraged. So what our goal and my solution is that we should achieve political power, not defined by mainstream electoral politics, but the actual assumption of power over policy and the redistribution of the wealth we all create. To get there, we need to be in political organizations, building movements, and specific to my argument, we must evolve our understanding of media, their role in myth-making, and as counterinsurgency designed to deny us our radical political traditions, which include revolutionary nationalism, critical analysis of and productive capabilities of our revolutionary culture, And pan-africanism is defined by the organization I'm a part of, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, which is on the standards of the United States of Africa under scientific socialism. It is not that I'm against supporting black business. It is not that I believe that black entrepreneurs are the problem or the enemy, as some like Abram Harris has said historically, the black economist. What I'm saying is that black capitalism, black entrepreneurialism is itself not the answer. It has been promoted and encouraged as a solution we follow, but it cannot work. And I'll come back to that in just a moment. But I just want to be clear. I am not condemning the idea of supporting black business. I'm not condemning black entrepreneurs. I am condemning the idea that this is the pathway to liberation of black people. So I want to continue to make that distinction. My little bit of work, The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power, as a subset of a broad set of analysis and study that has been critical of capitalism and its relationship to black people for a long time, I think does a fair job in adding to the demonstration, to the data, to the proof of what I'm saying about the inability for black entrepreneurialism to solve our problems. So this is not a speculation, this is not what I'm hoping for, this is what the data and the history demonstrate. So just a couple quick definitions. Psychological warfare, I mentioned a little bit, its euphemisms are often used, but its goal is to, as defined by the military, is to suppress, to develop narratives, to co-opt symbols, and suppress the radical potential for oppressed communities. It has been used, tip of the spear I see over there by Dr. Orasami Burton, is a book that everybody should read. I've argued it's the best book in terms of understanding the history of mass communications research, though it's not really about mass comm, but as a mass comm scholar, I just can't help but see it that way, because everything he's saying in that book that focuses on our heroes sitting in the back a little bit, Dhoruba bin Wahad and members of the Black Liberation Army and the Black Panther Party, was that the prison system was developed as to suppress the internal colony that is black and brown people, that is, and its potential to rebel, to turn potential radicals into good citizens, to use their language, that is compliant, only wanting to be about the black bourgeoisie and being a part of the middle class. And they were specifically saying, we want good citizens. We don't want more black people joining the Black Liberation Army. Chris Simpson, one of my favorite comm scholars, has talked about the goal to develop communication as domination, which the ruling elite have seen as an alternative to violence, although we're very clear how quickly they're willing to use physical violence, but as a potential alternative, they've happily developed all manner of forms of messaging. My particular focus on the messaging is the way that podcasts, news, and media, and even pop culture to sneak these messages in about individualism. Capitalism is a good way to go. Entrepreneurialism is a solution. You're poor because you're broke and lazy. And even in hip hop, where like Jay-Z and others, you're just a customer. You're just to demean the idea of what it is to be a customer. In a 70% consumer-based economy, the customer should be praised. Because if we stop shopping, it's a wrap. I mean, seriously, I just bought this I only got to taste this incredible vegan jerk chicken, and I'm looking at it in a bag, and I'm just like, I can't wait to just... But the reality is, as brilliant as this place is for being able to produce that food, without the consumption, the business collapses. There is no wealth created. There's no value created. It is in the exchange that value is created. We're only taught that only the one running the business is to benefit. And not even them. The people that own all the businesses that suppress the smaller businesses are the ones that are only meant to benefit. And the customers are supposed to come in there. And if you just shop, you're a fool. But we already saw what happened during the pandemic. If you stay home and save your money and don't shop, if that money does not circulate in the economy collapses. That's where the political power comes in, because the ruling elite, all they did was create trillions of dollars for themselves out of nowhere. Y'all gonna stay home in a pandemic? You're not gonna shop? You think I'm gonna suffer? Oh, hell no. Absolutely not. Get over there and write that bill and create trillions. put it into the economy for us, and then blame the poor for they're abusing PP loans, and inflation is up because we gave everybody money and now they can go shop, and we got to raise the price of the products to balance the scale. Nah. Kwame Ture was right. If you really want to end poverty, give poor people money. 737 people in this country got $5.5 trillion. Think about that. And we're supposed to believe through the messaging that they worked hard and they earned it. They deserve this. No, so just a couple more definitions. What is capitalism? Whatever people say about capitalism, it is simply the private accumulation of wealth. Private hands get to own the wealth that everybody participates in creating. What is wealth? The income you make off of other people's labor. Most of us get an income where we're paid a portion of the wealth we create for others as a return for our labor. That's income. The wealth is for what people earn off of when you go to work. And that's why there's 737 of them that got $5 trillion. And we're supposed to argue over $1 trillion in buying power for all 40 million black people in this country. And that number isn't even real, but even if it was, we're supposed to argue over that? Capitalism is also, by the way, it's not just an economic system. It's a social system where societal roles are developed, defined, and imposed. I know we live in a capitalist economy and nobody's ever taught what capitalism actually is, but it is not just about economics. It's a social system. It's the use of money to manipulate other people to get them to do what they would not normally be willing to do. That's what Adam Smith said in his Origins of Money, the godfather of capitalism. That's what he said when he defines money. Basically, he's saying to get people to do what you can't get them to otherwise do. Put them on a system of the pound or the dollar eventually. Okay, so just a little bit more here and then I'll wrap it up. Black capitalism is what Manning Marable called, though I'm critical of the work attributed to him in the Malcolm X, and the reason I say it that way is because Manning Marable's body of work does not support the version we see in that book that Viking Press put out under his name at the end of his life. But anyway, Manning Marable had said that black capitalism is a social myth that basically promises a version of trickle-down economics. A few black people will make it, and the fact that they've made it will trickle down and benefit the community. But that's just simply not borne out by history or the data. The reality is what is created is a black bourgeoisie that have very little concern for the rest of the black community. The Black Liberation Army and one of its co-authors of their study guide sitting in the room with us today talked also about black capitalism as a myth and said essentially that due to the colonization and the previous accumulation of capital among the white ruling elite, black people can never catch up. All the wealth and all the land and all the meaningful parts of the sectors of the economy have already been accumulated. Remember, the most popular global critique of capitalism in the world comes from two white men talking about white Europe in a white context. Even without the existence or in their context of black and brown and colonization, just white folks can't sustain themselves and survive in a capitalist economy. So what would we think, why would we think that after all the enslavement and the colonization and the anti-blackness and white supremacy and all the Jim and Jane Crow and the red light and all the other stuff that they're gonna say, but if you found the secret of starting a business, you could be free. It just doesn't compute. That's not how they made their wealth. The wealth of this nation was not derived out of a small few businesses being created by small business people who circulated. No, it was through violent conquering, enslavement, genocide, theft of other people's labor. Marisa Baradaran, in her great book, and particularly her chapter called The Decoy of Black Capitalism, chapter 6 in The Color of Money, talks about what I'm talking about in a very succinct way. She focuses a lot on Richard Nixon in the 1970s, and that being the keynote moment or a keynote moment in redefining black power as black capitalism, where she describes black capitalism as a phrase was a, quote, rhetorical weapon against black radicalism. It was a tactic to cut economic and black communities to cut economic aid to black communities while pronouncing and promoting the phrase in their version of black power. You don't need black power as defined by Stokely and George and all those Malcolm and all that. You need black power as defined by Nixon, mainstream electoral politics, black capitalism, and you'll be good to go. A tactic to cut, to cut economic aid while claiming black power. And then just to wrap up here, the black press role in all of this, again, post-World War II, John H. Johnson selling the Negro documentary, which you can see on from 1954, it's on YouTube, you can watch it, where you see this play out. Present black people as not a threat. We don't want struggle. We don't want to be a problem. We just want to buy your products. We just want you to advertise in our presses. And we'll show you, we're gonna have the nice house and the picket fence and the dog and the good job, and we're gonna pay our bills and our taxes, and we're not gonna be a problem. All of this, that has set the bar for where we are today. Roland Martin just was doing this a couple weeks ago. Even before all the Diddy stuff started. Diddy revoked TV. No, Diddy was talking about, oh, the black press is underserved, undervalued. The white ad buyers don't buy our revenue, or don't buy our buy ads in our media. Which was another version of the John H. Johnson reminder. Why won't you buy ads in our media? Don't you see we're buying your products, we'll sell your products. We're clearly not promoting something radical or different. So then again, my work on buying power is just a subset as a concept and a phrase, and it has a history that was developed in today's version largely after the Second World War as well. It was hyper weaponized in the 90s by the Selig Center, who would become pretty much the single source for the most part for the promotion of the myth of the $1.8 trillion that black people are said to have, and if we spent it more wisely, we would be free, and this, that, and the third. But when you look at the report, and I apparently am one of the few people that actually buy it and read it, they say, we don't really know what buying power, we don't really have any way of measuring it, it's just estimates and projections, we're just basically putting a number together so we can have the report to give to ad buyers who will say, hey, if black people have basically earned $1 trillion, all of them combined. If they spend everything they earn on our products, we'll call that power. And then we'll put it in the press as buying power. And then that phrase gets confused through misunderstanding and the black press need to promote it as a mechanism of attracting ad revenue. Then it trickles down to many in our audiences as this power. And if we just had the trillion, and if we just used it more wisely and stopped buying, all the frivolous things we spend it on, if we bought land and stock and businesses, we could overcome. But it's not real. The term power and the phrase buying power is meant to represent the power to buy products that black people do not own, produce, or benefit from once they are sold. It is the power to enrich those who own the economy. That's what the phrase means. And as part of this subset of this broader process of black capitalism and psychological warfare, it has been turned into a weapon to say black people are only poor because they don't know what to do with themselves. They're financially illiterate. They lack financial literacy. And then we look at the history of literacy. What is it? And my colleague Erica Brown, who's going to be putting out, I think, some of the most phenomenal work on this in the not too distant future on the history of financial literacy. And she's identified, similar to my argument around buying power, one of the singular academic sources for the mythology that financial literacy is what poor people around the world need. This is being heavily promoted, but if you look at the history of literacy, both in terms of reading and financial literacy, these are weapons of colonization. Indigenous people have been targeted as being illiterate and therefore deserving of the genocide. They can't read, the people of Palestine at one point, they can't read, they're just a land without a people and a people without a land. They don't know what they're doing. So when we come in here and do what we're gonna do to them, it's because they're illiterate. And financial illiteracy or literacy is the same thing. Black people are poor because they just don't know how to, they don't know nothing about a mutual fund. They don't know how to They just don't know what they're doing with their money. Capitalism has all the opportunity if they just were financially literate. No, people are poor because they are, black people in particular, because we are targeted as part of this economy for extraction. We produce wealth for others. All right, so I'll wrap it up there just so we can have time to get into, by restating again, that really what I'm looking at is this 3 points of interest convergence between the state, the black business community, and the broader white business community, all of which have been conspiring for a long time to deny black people of all the movement-inspiring radical analysis and historical approaches and frames to understand the world in which we live that we can organize out of existence. All right, let me stop there, and I'll open. Let's get into a conversation. I think I'm happy to expand on anything that I've said. I know I rushed a little bit, but I did want to, given where we are in the run of the agenda tonight, I wanted to leave as much room as possible for a dialogue. So again, I appreciate you all coming out. The book is now in the store. Let's build. Let's go. Anybody have any comments, questions, queries, conundrums, catechisms, cacophony, calumny, consternation, condemnation, confrontation? I forgot to say, now your work, the performance was dope. It was very dope. But I can't get past how fly that purse is. The purse is so fly. Boombox purse. So shout out to Radio Raheem. Shout out to Radio Raheem. That's it's love and hate. It's love and hate. And by the way, Amiri Baraka was right about that movie. That movie shows you the black bourgeoisie and the black capitalist class at its best. Because what this is rest in peace to Amiri Baraka, but what happens, Radio Raheem raises a legit concern, but it's the black bourgeoisie Mookie that throws the trash can and then comes back tomorrow morning to pick up the money the white man throws on the floor for him. That's what Mary Brock was saying. Pay attention to that. Spike is showing you. Look, I'm gonna throw the movie out there. I'm gonna throw you some cultural bones to get black people riled up. But at the end of the day, I'm coming around the corner to get that money. That's why his movie about Malcolm was so bad. That's why a lot of his political analysis is going not where we needed to go. But yeah, I thought that was deep. Anyway, I don't know. All right. But yes, sir. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm reading talking about Boots Riley.
Yes.
He said that capitalism needs unemployment to work.
Yes, Bruce Riley said capitalism needs unemployment to work. One of the best analysis I read about this years ago was in the work of the political prisoner Mumia Abu-Jamal, who was one of the first people years ago in his prison commentaries to make me think about this point. Poverty and unemployment are planned. You do need a reserve force, labor force, willing to take jobs at any pay. When I always think he's facetious when he did this, but I always like to bring this up. When Lincoln freed the enslaved Africans, Karl Marx wrote him a letter. And I think the letter was facetious because Marx was a little bit of a hater. But Marx said, basically he said, thank you for freeing them because you freed all the laborers in Europe. And his point was kind of to that same point. If you have a reservoir of unpaid labor, it dries down the wages of the paid laborers even all the way across the world. So he said, hey, all these white workers that were taking all that cotton and whatever and turning it in factories into clothes, their wages were down because there's a group under them that got paid even less. If you got to start paying them.
Wall Street gets nervous when it's too much.
Oh, of course, Wall Street gets, because when there's too much, when there's too much employment, that's what. So one of the books I've been reading is this book by her last name is Fawns-Wolf, and it's the history of the way the business community promoted capitalism after the Second World War. And she's talking about a time where most of us are not taught this or remember this, but prior to World War II and then just after World War II, there was this huge booming labor movement that was threatening those in power. And they were like, their part of their response was to say, wait, they got too many people, got too many jobs, making too much money, and they're realizing government can support their unionization And the government has a lot to say about how wealth is created and where it goes. We got to get rid of that, because the government is supposed to be for us. We just use the government to organize the military to conquer land and conquer so we can accumulate wealth. And then we use the government to create laws that protect our businesses and tariffs to protect our trade. We don't really want the government in here helping black people, poor whites. Oh, no. So a whole wave of propaganda was developed. Mass communications as a field was evolved, specifically to study how do you make Eastern Europeans good white Americans? How do you take the formerly enslaved African and turn them into good American Negroes? How do you bring immigrants in to make them work and then send them home when you don't need them anymore? All of that, we're seeing it right now. You got black people yelling at Guatemalan immigrants, how about you taking our jobs? That's the beauty. Nothing more shows me more of the success of psychological warfare than watching any of that. What?
They're coming here because of U.S. imperialism.
Of course. I was at the what was it, the 20th? No, the 30th anniversary of the March on Washington, where part of it was turned into a petition, an effort to get Clinton to not sign NAFTA and CAFTA. And all the labor unions were out. Everybody was out there in D.C. marching. Please don't, we brought you into office. I thought you was the first black president. And all he did was sign it all the way. So all those immigrants coming up here, they don't have jobs at home. And then the beauty of it is they can say, no, don't look at us who do all the hiring and walk off as part of the 700 people with $5 trillion. No. Black person, you're poor. That El Salvadoran took your job, man. We had it for you. We was about to hook you up because we love you. But then they crossed the border and I got, my bad. But get mad at them. Don't get mad at me. I'm just hiring them. I'm just setting a policy. But that's why I said Wakanda, that second movie, that's what that movie was about. Get the brown people from down there are the enemy, and the Africans got to fight them, and then the white folks are the friends. I was like, this is beautiful. But that's what's really going. Yeah, absolutely. You need to have, poverty is programmed. Unemployment is programmed. Houselessness is programmed. So that, look, George Jackson, you mentioned him earlier. We talk about this all the time. The reason that I talk about I'm a hater is because of what he said. And I'm paraphrasing, but he said, look, I want to love everybody. But once I realized you all were doing this on purpose, now I hate you. And I hate this. I hate this. I hate it. Like, I'm very angry. I don't want to say the word because I don't want to be misunderstood, but I'm very angry. This is not a tenable situation, and I'm tired of all the messaging that is telling us that we're the problem. We did it. Some other poor community is causing this. No. It's a handful of a ruling elite that are messing with us. 737 people. I can't even consider how many people is that. If you put 700 people in a football stadium and put that football stadium on TV, you wouldn't even see them. Be like, who is here? There's nobody here. And they'd be like, but the nobody you see got all the money. In this country alone, $150 trillion in private personal wealth, $450 trillion globally in private personal wealth. And you want me to come here and talk about, well, y'all, if we spent our money and financial literacy and get your money up and get your mindset, that other word I hate, get you into the mindset. You don't have a business mindset. What? All of us, either ourselves or people we know, work very hard all the time, and we don't have anything for it. And then we're told we're not working hard enough. We're not working the right way. We're not doing this right. We haven't figured out this hustle. We haven't been, and again, with all due respect to all the great business minds, I don't want to have to be a good business person to benefit off the wealth I've created. When I go shopping, when I pay bills, when I buy stuff, I'm creating wealth. When I go to work, I'm creating wealth. when I'm streaming, when I'm watching, all the stuff we all do, we're creating wealth. Why then do I have to, on top of that, go be some other super special brilliant human being with the right hustle and the right mindset to make money?
So what's the solution?
I already told you, I started with the solution. Political organization. We need public policy that says if money is being made, redistribute it. Go ahead.
That's a tough one that we're going to lean towards. Let's say this, what is the political strategy to make that what you're saying a reality? Because it seemed very wide rush to say that the political part will be the solution. But what is the political practical? Like, what is practical? What do we do politically from your point of view to change that, to answer to what you say psychological warfare, capitalism?
Join political organizations and encourage them to build movements that will target public policy, target elections, target politicians, target people in the community, target whoever. And say, there's all this money around here. Why is it not coming to the people? What I know is not a solution. Look, I understand it's vague, it's difficult. There are things that I would want to say that I will not say on a mic that's being recorded. But the reality is we have to create movements that make the function of the society untenable.
You mentioned that that business is not the solution.
Correct.
Would you consider it being a part of the solution or not a solution at all?
So if a business is working as part of a politically organized effort where the wealth that's created is being used for the people to develop, of course.
Okay.
If business is used if business is used just so a handful of black people can sustain and get over and just not have the most viciousness of the society be on them, I'm cool with that too, up to a point. Really, I am. But what the problem I have is that it's promoted as the solution for the collective.
My last question.
Business cannot create the wealth that black people need to sustain the entire collective. It just can't do it. Capitalism won't allow it to do it.
From a business perspective and a grassroots perspective, then how do you finance I don't want to say outright.
You don't need to.
How do you finance the resistance of the system in which you speak?
I've never agreed with this point. You don't need money to have a political movement. You don't, and you don't need money to develop. The only real power we have is the organized numbers in our collective communities. That's it. There's I know I rushed through it, but what I'm trying to show here is that because it is understood that in this economy, poor people cannot catch up, black capitalism and entrepreneurialism has been promoted to us intentionally as the one solution, because it is known that if we do the other maybe more difficult thing, and it's not even more difficult because obviously black businesses have not been, 2 million black businesses were created between 1992 and 2012, and their capture of the national sales revenue went down to 0.5%, a 0.5%. Because black people don't attract the revenue from venture and investment capital to expand their businesses. Black people's businesses are targeting other black people who don't already have enough money to circulate to make those businesses expand to help the entire community. And as I was trying to say, even in the context of a white supremacist capitalist society, capitalism doesn't work for white people. White people are out here suffering and struggling. And again, the biggest critic of capitalism the world has ever seen is 2 white boys from Europe. One of whom was the son of a rich merchant, a manufacturer. And even he was like, it don't work for the collective. All the best we can see is a handful of black people make some money and the rest do worse and worse and worse. 2050, black wealth is gonna be zero in 2050. The National Bureau of Economic Research produced the Decoy paper, where she showed that because of the beginnings of enslavement, wealth is already accumulated. So black people are 6 to 1, or 6 times to 1 white wealth to black wealth today. She went back and her crew showed that if you start from the end of slavery to today and take away all of the racism, all all of the inequality. Because of that starting point from an end of enslavement and white people already accumulated, she said even then black people could only get at best to 3-to-1. This is not an issue of business and entrepreneurialism, and it's not that we are financially illiterate. We are cut off, as are most people. There's only one Amazon. There's no white competitor to Amazon. There's no white competitor to Walmart. There's no white competitor to Google.
You mean black competitor?
No, I'm saying white.
White, yeah.
That's my point. Even in the white world, there's no competition. So, and that's what I'm saying. For them to tell us, who suffered way more, that we can catch up, create your own Google, create your own Amazon, create your own this, that's, white folks can't do that. The tendency towards monopoly, to buying out, to undercutting, that's why Google exists, because it bought off all its competitors. Microsoft bought off all its competitors. Every black business that gets to a certain, they sell. And then you see in the people in their social media, oh, they're sell out there. Well, that's all they're supposed to do. That's what business is supposed to do. You thought, you hear that, oh, black people are going to create business, we're going to create generational wealth like the white folks do. Well, they create generational wealth for their family, not all whites. And they do it by getting big and then selling to somebody bigger. They even have conferences. Go watch Jamie Johnson, the heir to the Johnson & Johnson. They're a little older now, but they're like the Born Rich documentary, the 1% documentary, where he shows these rich whites going to conferences where they're talking about how to save your money, how to keep your money in your family, not even among whites, just in your family. I was at a conference the other day where it was reported today, black people earn 15 cents on the dollar compared to whites. $200 billion a year get transferred in inheritance. 200 billion just in inheritance goes from one white hand to their kids. We can't catch up with that. We cannot compete with that. We're being hustled through this messaging to compete in a game we can't win. We have to destroy the game. We have to come up with a new game. And that new game has to be something, I keep my joke, this is for a certain generation, or I'm Frank White with it. If a nickel bag is being sold in the park, I want to cut. That's what our policy should be. If money is being made out here, it should come back to us in the form of pick the form. The book I was talking about, the Franz Wolf book, at the beginning of the Second World War, labor was so strong, they actually believed that there was going to be a successful labor movement that was going to have it for all working people, a 25-hour work week, months of vacation every year, wages that would increase based on the inflation rates, because today workers are paid at what rates we were paid in the 1970s.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I'm in disagreement.
I know.
A lot of what you say.
I hear you.
But
based on what information?
No, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get you to explain so I can understand. Do you have a practical example of what you're saying, a successful model, even in a minuscule?
The Cuban Revolution.
Okay.
Got rid of the dictator, threw out American business, created a socialist economy, and basically got rid of poverty, homelessness. Everybody got health care. Because they said if money's going to be made in our country, it's going to get redistributed. I was in this huge. I went to Cuba in 2000, and I'm in this huge building, this mansion. And the woman comes in to meet us, and she says, what I didn't realize, we were in a former home of one family, one elite Cuban family that had been turned into like a center for women's studies and a hospital, like a healthcare thing and a child care thing. And you're sitting in this, like, this was somebody's dining room. It was like bigger than this whole block. That's what I'm talking about. But nobody should be living like that if we're living like this, is what I'm saying.
But is it straight across the board in Cuba, or
I'm not saying it's perfect.
Imbalance?
There are, of course, some imbalances, but that's largely got to do with the blockade the United States puts on them. I mean, they can't do what they want to do. They're same thing with the Russian Revolution. 17 countries invaded Russia after their revolution to make sure that socialism wouldn't spread, and then they turn around and say, "See, Don't work. I used to tell my daughter all the time, it would be like me telling you before you go to school, make your bed. She makes her bed and goes to school. Then I go in her room and I turn the bed over, throw the sheets on the floor, and when she come home, be like, why can't you get yourself together? But Daddy, I made my bed. I had my revolution. My room was clean. Nah, it don't work. And then I go and tell her, see, she can't do it. She's too financially illiterate. She's too, at the conference I was at, this black man said that black people are poor because we're morally corrupt. We need more church. Word? Really? Really? That's your analysis? We don't, Bezos is some godly creature? Zuckerberg is some heavenly, divine spirit? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Come on, my man. Come back at me. I know you got some more. I know I didn't win that one. I know I didn't win yet. Come on, man.
Hold on. Take a break and come back. I do have a question, though.
That's part of the conversation, but I really appreciate the equation.
I have a question just for just to kind of tie it into our last presenter.
Yes, sir.
And I got a lot, but nonetheless.
Come on, let's go.
But the one I do have is this. My last presenter spoke to, and quite a few of the people here, so I kind of want to hear your perspective on this. She spoke to this idea of the United States not being a pure capitalistic nation, right? She said that it's capitalistic and socialist at the same time. Then she also said that, I think that ties into your question. Go ahead, Ty. That part, then he'll pick up.
Got you.
Okay, well, all right. And so I guess my question will be, can capitalism exist without extortion,
No,
exploitation?
no, that's the point. That's why Malcolm said, if you show me a capitalist, I'll show you a bloodsucker.
So all right. So now I think the question also goes back to, can a capitalist society also have a social aspect of it, where it's a social aspect that takes care of the social aspect?
So,
For instance,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
that would be like, social welfare.
Yeah.
Right? The social welfare that we have in America.
We had, I don't know where it used to be even better. So social welfare and these safety nets that this country has offered have been forced out of a response to labor movements, black liberation struggles, Chicano freedom struggle. It's been people fighting that got it. People had to literally pick up guns and shoot corporate heads of businesses just so we could have a weekend off. People had to shoot up, bomb trains and blow up businesses just so we could get 10-year-olds not in a factory. My point is, if everything that capitalism or colonization gives as a concession is a concession as a response to suppress rebellion. And then look at where we are now. It's all done really, as others have put it, to save capitalism. Nick Hanauer, somebody I reference in my book, is this billionaire venture capitalist who says, I love capitalism. But he went on this tour messaging his fellow elites saying, we're doing too much. And his point was, we're exploiting the people. His line, I remember him saying in one interview was, we're at the point where a Starbucks employee can't afford a latte from Starbucks. And when that happens, he said they're going to come after us with pitchforks. That was his word. And I was like, you're damn right. I was like, that's what it should be. That's exactly right. How dare you live on all this money? If I got to go to work and can't buy a product that I'm producing, you must be crazy. So they give us these concessions. So that was one of the points that I referenced, I know too quickly, was that the black power of Nixon was, nah, man, give a few of these black folks, put a couple of them on TV. Let's create some superstars. Let's elect a few of them even. It don't matter, because that's why Kwame Ture said black power is not black visibility. The more black people we see in higher office and more we see them on TV, the poorer the rest of the collective is. And I think we have to understand that. Yes, there's a LeBron. Yes, there's a so-and-so and a Robert Smith and a this one and that one. But for every one of them, there's 10 million poor black people who are getting worse and worse by the day. So that's why, but that was understood. We'll use this as a concession. Globally, it's part of the neo-colonialism process. You conquer a group and then you hire a few to run the country for it. And what was the study that I forgot who produced it, the Economic Policy Institute, I think? Their argument, they showed that yes, black people have less money than white people, but if you look at the percentage of how that money is divided within the community, it's the same across the board. And you have this top 10 to 20% of each racial group that has everything. And then they come back and tell us that's what HBCUs were created for. Morgan State was created to create a lighter skinned black elite that would come back to the community and say, everything's all right. Don't you see me doing all right? In 2019, my wife and I bought a house. How did you feel about that? I mean, that's it right there. That's the whole point. What difference does it make that I was able to buy a house and so-and-so was able to buy a car? And then that gets counted as black expenditures. When the rest of the community, what does it happen? Did anybody in 2019 wake up one day and go, whoa, I don't know why, but I feel I'm powerful. And you look up the black spending index. Oh, the Ball family bought a house, no wonder. You don't have access to that spending list, the black expenditure list? But that's my point. But they want you to feel that way. Don't you see me in my house? What you complaining for?
But with that, Dr. Ball,
Yes,
I think it's a perfect point. And my brother Marquise had something. So just because you're right here, right?
All right.
So our speaker also said, ask the brothers and sisters who teaching this possible socialist messaging. Ask them about their 401ks. Ask them about what they're doing. Ask them ask them if they participating. So what do you say to that?
So what I'm saying is that personally, and in terms of my immediate family, my household, we're doing relatively well.
So what do we? So
But what I'm saying is that what I would be encouraged to do is to turn that into, why haven't y'all done what we've done? What I should be saying is, I'm one of the fortunate, lucky few to slip through the system, and at most, like Huey P. Newton, who was referenced earlier, said in Revolutionary Suicide, I have to commit revolutionary suicide. And some of the work that I produce has to benefit the collective. The way I spend my money should benefit the collective. The arguments I make should benefit the collective. Should be pointed in that direction. And when my own daughters, when we all their lives, when we drive by a house where you're the houses where you're supposed to drive by and be like, damn, I wish I had that. Whenever I see them start looking like that, I'm like, you look, they're your enemy. They are benefiting from a system, quietly enjoying a system, and living in a house that you can't live in. So then in 2019, my daughter said, but Daddy, most people don't live in a house like this either. So how should they be looking at us? And I said, exactly the same way. To the extent that I am in a better economic condition and not being punished for it, I am betraying the mission I'm supposed to be fulfilling for my community.
So should they aspire for that?
No, but my point is, I have what I have because you can't have it. I don't have what I have because you could also have it. So the question, that's why I keep saying, we have to reduce and remove the competitive effort from it. Yes, I've worked hard. Yes, my wife has worked even harder. But that's not the point. Everybody's working hard. And because we were able to take certain advantages of certain things in certain times and certain spaces, and don't get me wrong, we're not doing that. I don't get it twisted. Like, it's not crazy. I'm just saying, relative to the average, particularly black and brown people, we're doing, at least we're okay. I'm not really worried immediately about tomorrow, like most people are. But I've been there. I've been homeless.
But that begs the question.
All of that. Yes, sir. Go ahead. All right, go ahead. Yeah.
That begs the question. Did that make you seem, or based on the things that you say, contrary to your own beliefs.
No. Or, well, if they do contradict, if what I'm saying doesn't contradict my belief, if anything, it contradicts some of my behavior, and that should be challenged and criticized. But my point is, what I'm sharing with you is data-driven, research-driven, and an accurate analysis, regardless of what Jared does right or wrong. And that's sort of my point.
But if Jared
Go
had
ahead.
the information, because everyone doesn't have a PhD in
Correct.
in the study that you study.
Correct.
If Jared has information, that information should be brought back to the monks of the masses of the
Right.
people, and with that,
Yeah.
with that same information, now lead the movement, now lead the understanding, now lead the people. That's that's another way to counter what you understand. Because if you understand it on a level that we don't understand it, that gives you the
No, here I
advantage.
am. But here I am. Unless there is scheduling conflict, I never turn down an invitation, and people can corroborate. I never take money, unless I'm at a university for these presentations. I don't take money from community from the community. I'm always here. The first edition of the book is free. The second edition is not really up to me. It's been paid for by the Casey Foundation, so I brought free books here. My point is, I'm part of several organizations, so I'm not attempting to necessarily lead those organizations. I'm attempting to work within them. The All African People's Revolutionary Party, Community Movement Builders, Black Alliance for Peace, Pan-African Community Action, our collective media group, Black Power Media. We produce this content all the time. Please, well, I usually say don't believe me, don't do the research to check my work, but I don't know that you could prove this, but so I ask you to believe me on this one. This work and this argument does not benefit my career. This has not helped my career. This has not made me any money. This has not been helpful. The live reinvention book that was mentioned earlier, I can't prove this, but I know it hurt me and my comrades' careers for who we were criticizing and the way we were doing it. So my point is, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. A lot of us are able to write books and say things and even take positions because we have a certain level of privilege. I'm not denying that. But I'm absolutely right here. I'm telling you what it is for real, and like I said, I'm here. I'm wherever. I'm always wherever. So, but yeah.
It's an uncomfortable conversation.
Absolutely.
For sure. But then it exposes us in our same compliance with the same system. So it's just.
But to your point, the way you asked the question is exactly why I ended up doing this. So for a long time, I would be in these kinds of spaces, listening to presentations and reading work and all that, and I would hear this contradiction. We're oppressed, we're being exploited, but if we used our money better, and I'd be like, well, that didn't make sense. Wait, you just gave us a whole presentation, now we don't have any money. Now you're telling us to use our money better and we'll be free? So my point is, I went and did the research. And to your point, it was not comfortable. I don't like having to point at the black press as playing a role in this. I don't like having to walk into certain rooms and say, I think Baba Amos Wilson got this one little thing. He was slightly, just one little slight when he made reference to the Selig Center. He just didn't see yet what that was. Look, that's not fun for me. I get emails, I get more hate from black people. Really, white folks don't even pay me any attention. But at least once a week, somebody black is in my email or DM saying something wildly mean and hostile, having nothing to do with what I actually said or what I actually wrote. But I get it. So I'm with you. This is not comfortable. I'm not happy to be walking every black space and trying to upset everybody. No. But to your point, I had the privilege of having the time and the space to do this research. I realized what was what. I have no choice but to try to make the case. I think, were you, or?
Well, I was just thinking that in my mind that kind of what you're doing is political.
Yeah.
What was that, Mama? I'm sorry.
You said what I'm doing is political.
Okay.
And I agree. I'm making a political argument. I did admit when I initially wrote the book, I did try to write it in a way to suppress my own. I was trying to keep my own overt politics out of it, just so people would focus on the argument. But I think that was probably a mistake. It is, because it is a political argument. I should have just been more upfront with, yeah, and then,
So the first time I was introduced to the concept that capitalism is the problem was by a white Jewish man. He was my English teacher, and it was a black class, and we all had this similar moment of like, "Are you saying Jay-Z's wrong? You saying that we don't need more sneakers being sold? You saying like we can free the hood without?" So it's this very confusing thing because there has been no alternative that we see working and functioning. But like you mentioned, every alternative is, that didn't work in Russia, that didn't work in Cuba, that didn't work in these spaces that literally get subject to white supremacy and the process. So it's like, how do we simplify so that we can get on one accord about understanding the issue of capitalism and how it doesn't benefit anyone? Like, it's literally, like you mentioned, it's meant for there to be one.
Yeah.
It all comes back to a one. There can't be two Googles.
That's right.
They can't be, like, that's why Bing doesn't exist. And most people don't know Bing when I say it. The Yahoo search can't be next to Google. Like, there's no Apple and Android. It's Apple. Even, it's to the point where people are joking about my Android isn't enough to the standard of Apple. So how do we get beyond that?
Again, the only way I know to do this is to work collectively through organizations. Because individually, it's too easy to be picked off by the messaging. I didn't do too much on that tonight, but the messaging has been so well developed over the last 50, 60 years that, again, what Malcolm said, 50 years ago is more true today, that this country has perfected the science of image making. So we have to be working in collectives and studying how the economy works and studying what past historical struggles have provided for us. And then I think for me, the most simple way to put it is the way I put it. I don't know how to do it any better than that, than to say capitalism is about exploitation. It is about the private accumulation of wealth and extracting wealth from the work of other people. So whatever our efforts have to be targeting that output, the end result. I don't want to hear any more about equal opportunity. I want equal outcomes. The opportunity piece is a lie. The James Brown, somebody just quoted it yesterday in a meeting I was in, said, the line from James Brown that, not black and proud, just open the door, let me do it, I'll do it for myself. That's because he was working for Nixon as a black capitalist. He had the messaging all wrong. The point should be, as I said, if $20 trillion is this country's GDP, meaning the all the money spent on goods and services in a year, then that 20 trillion should be redistributed so that it's not just being turned over into producing the hundreds of trillions in private wealth. If the report was that $20 billion solves all the homelessness in this country, what are we talking about? I'll stop here, but one of my favorite stories, I was in a sporting goods store buying my daughter her soccer stuff, and we get to the front of the line, and the brother behind the counter says, "Would you like to donate for cancer research?" And I was like, "No." And then everybody in the line is looking at me. He's looking at me like, and my daughter standing there. And I was like, if you're gonna try to shame me in front of my child, let me tell you. I looked it up.
Yeah.
Dick's Sporting Goods store. Looked it up while we were standing there. Boop, boop, boop. Owner, whatever his name is, worth, I think, $2 billion or 1 point some billion. I said, that's just his worth. I said, what is the revenue of Dick's? I should have looked it up right there. What is the revenue of Dick's Sporting? In other words, when I spend $80 on this soccer ball and some socks,
It should automatically go to that cancer research.
boom, boom,
Already be set aside to be a
boom.
That's what socialism would make space for.
And the brother working behind the counter should be working fewer days for more money with more health care.
So he doesn't have to make up for it with a $120 therapy session.
Because at the end of the day, all the money is being used to pay the board of directors, the CEO, and Dick himself. And you want me? And it was my homeboy, this Indian communist dude, Saswat, man, love him to death, man. And this was after Katrina. And I was like, oh man, we got to pony up, we got to send some money. And he with a thick Indian accent. It sounded crazy. I'm not gonna do it because it sounds racist if I do it, but it sounded crazy. He was like, no. He was like, that's ridiculous. I said, what you mean it's ridiculous? He said, isn't this the United States of America? Don't we pay taxes? In this country, didn't they just spend X trillions on the military? What you need to send money for? Go fly down there and save those people. This country should go down there. What do you need Red Cross money for? Why does Jared what I got to come up with money for? What did they say they just sent trillions in? Like, what are you talking about? So, but again, it's the messaging. We're supposed to be shamed. Of course, I'm gonna round up at the grocery store and give money for the cancer, for the this. Of course, I'm gonna do that. It's a hustle.
Right.
So we never stop and ask the question, why aren't y'all doing that? We've already created all the wealth. Deruba says all the time, we fight battles, we already won. The wealth is already there. You created it. We already did it already. It's done. It's sitting there. What Marx said was the contradiction of capitalism is that it shows us we can produce the wealth. Capitalism it shows you can produce everything you need. There's enough food, there's enough everything for everybody. The contradiction is capitalism also says only a handful of people get to keep it. So that's why we got to get past. We got to move past it. We got to stop fighting one another and stop with this whole thing of I got to start from nothing and figure it all out. And if I don't, it's my fault. What? Go ahead.
Last question.
Come on, man.
For the people. So what would your suggestion be? If you could give suggestion to find a job or be an entrepreneur, business owner, what path do we take as a people?
So
what do you think?
Again, it doesn't matter what I think. It's not speculation. We already know the data shows most black people who start businesses are starting that business because they didn't have a job and they're hiring themselves. They're their own employee.
Right.
So my point is, my point is, both of them are flawed. If you have the position if you are in a situation where you can create a business and sustain yourself and do your thing, do it. Do it. If going to school and doing all the other stuff is going to benefit you and make you more money, do it. But understand that neither one of them is a path to the collective salvation.
And the only path you're saying is a political path.
It is, because political power, and again, I don't mean political power, I mean it
I think political is part of that, right. So don't get it twisted. I do believe that.
But remember what I'm saying by that, though. What I'm really saying is in the definition of power as defined by Huey Newton in that, the ability to define phenomena and have it act in a desired manner. That's what I mean. I don't mean voting for a Democrat. I definitely don't mean voting for a Republican. What I mean is we need to develop, for instance, I've said I'm a Malcolm X voter. Because if you read what Malcolm X said about voting in the black community, he said we need to organize our own party, our own bloc. We need to be running our own candidates. We need to be producing. In other words, to say we are going to elect you to go here to say this, this, and this. If you don't say this, this, and this, out of it.
That's right.
And what one of those thises has to be is if money is being made in my community, and by my community, I don't care where it is. If money's being made in this country, redistribute it back. And whether I went to school, whether I started a business, whether I did both, whether I'm a great businessman, whether I'm terrible and all I can do is spend money, it don't matter. All of it is producing wealth. All of it is producing wealth.
It's like extortion, right? It's like extortion, so to speak. And extortionists usually got big guns. That's right. When I come to extort somebody on my block that's getting money, I'm coming and saying, listen, you can't eat around me unless you pay me.
Right.
It's an extortionist. So if you're gonna do that, you gotta have a lot of power behind you doing that.
I hear you. So my daughter's new phrase is, apparently this is hot in their school, it's just so solidarity and friendship. They say, Dad, you got a war behind you. I love that.
You gotta stand on business.
Gotta have a war behind you. And the only way we can do that is to build parties, movements, organizations that do that. Not necessarily saying with guns and this, that, and the third, but to roll up politically and say, as King was saying at the end of his life, ain't no business happening today. The streets are shut down. The country is shut down. General strikes. Encampments like what we're seeing on campuses, but that are in front of elected officials' buildings, in front of runways. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know exactly what the movement should do other than to get itself together, because that's our only way of doing it. We can't individually, again, the data is very clear. There's not enough money to be made to catch up. So this idea of let's get our money right, then we'll engage the political system, that's just not. So we have to find other ways. We're gonna have to take risks. We have to develop uncomfortable movements if we want what we say we want. If we just want a handful of us to do, all right, then my argument is irrelevant. Go ahead.
So I can get with you as far as why you don't know exactly what to do. It's a big thing,
Yeah.
right? Now, let's say I'm trying to say, what does the picture look like? Now, if you can pick not the picture of how to get there, but once we get there, have you imagined and can you articulate that to us what that will look like?
It's sort of what I was saying a minute ago. When I think of it in terms of even what that book on the labor movement history I was referencing was talking about. That I don't necessarily have the final vision, but I see a world where we could make the immediate shift where more people are hired because more money is being developed and used as resources for employing more people who are paid more with more benefits, who work less. So all of the people who are currently unemployed would have a job. All the people who are currently employed would have less to do, making more with more benefits, more free time, more vacation, more health care. That's what I'm talking about. So that would be the immediate shift in terms of what I conceive could actually happen. That you could, and then if you start to look at and there's other things. That would be. So like, for instance, the federal government could say we're going to give, I don't know, a credit to everybody that currently employs anybody. And that credit is going to be used so they can double their workforce and cut the hours of everybody. So everybody's coming to work for 3 hours a day, doing their best work, fully rested, fully focused, 3 hours a day, your full salary plus benefits, got the rest of the day off, you get 2 months vacation time every year, paid, minimum. Let's start there. And see what happens. See what happens when people have more time and more resources and they're less stressed, and their rent is paid, and their health care is covered, and their education is covered. We can even start, I'm even I don't have it all figured out, but I even think about it in terms of the abusive standardized testing. Let's even just redesign some tests and give people some tests. What are you good at? What are you interested in? I used to say legalize all drugs and take everybody who's currently involved on the corner and give them a job. And then I already see with the legalized weed, they're skipping that step, and it's the rich whites setting up all the cannabis and making all the money. So I figured I missed my lane. But seriously, like, we already have a situation where there's just, so that's just what that's what I'm thinking. Like, before I get to the fantasy of what a world really could look like if we're not exploiting the resources and all this other, I don't know. I struggle with that level of fantasy, but my immediate is, everybody could have a home, refurbish all these, we were driving up here, all the boarded up housing, refurbish all of that, put people in it, give people jobs. How many construction companies would love the work if the federal government took even half of what they're spending on Israel and said, we're gonna hire all these construction people and fix all the existing housing, put everybody in a decent home? I mean, these are the things, but look, Fanon has that line in Wretched of the Earth where he says the job of the colonizers is to destroy the dreams of the colonized. And the goal of the colonized is to develop to dream of all manner possible to destroy the colonizer. We've had our dreams suppressed, so I don't know exactly what to do or what it would look like. I want all of us to expand our dream from beyond, I just want a nice house and a nice car, and I'm gonna get it, through my own individual and say we all should have it, and if we all work together, we're more likely to all have.
What about the talk of Black Wall Street, talks of Oklahoma? Is that a good example of?
No, because again, that history is totally misunderstood. So 95% of the people, Too Black, my comrade, and I haven't finished his new book, Laundering Black Rage. I don't know if he's gotten into this too much there, but he and his crew did a lot of research on this. But 95% of the black workers in Tulsa were broke. There was a handful of black business people that were doing everything, and they were themselves living off of the broader oil economy of the surrounding white business community. The white vigilante violence that happened for real masks the reality that the black business community rebuilt itself after that violence to be even bigger and stronger by the 1940s. But the problem wasn't the white vigilantes, it was the federal government that came in and ran highways through it and disbanded all the businesses and messed up all the contracts and all the other, and that's what destroyed Black Wall Street. The crackers that drop the bombs they're being used by the ruling white power structure to distract everybody. Yeah, I mean, that was horrible. I'm not trying to, obviously that's horrible. But the real problem with Black Wall Street was not the crackers. It was the I don't know what's bigger than the crackers. Them. The federal government did that. The federal government, and then just like the ruling white rich elite do all the time, they love to blame the poor whites and have everybody focus on the poor whites. Because it's easier. But it was the policy that did it. It was the public policy, it was the political decision making that destroyed Black Wall Street. It destroys all other black communities. It's not just the simplicity of the horrific violence. So that's why Tulsa is often misunderstood. And that's why the idea that if it wasn't for the racists who blew up our town, we'd have been good and black capitalism would have been good for us. But that's not true. And most of the black people there were not benefiting like that. They were not living well like that.
It didn't benefit the collective.
It didn't benefit the collective. That's what always happens. It always happens that way. A handful of business people do okay. And then they either become more conservative or they protect their business interests. And then, so one of the more fascinating, and I'll stop here on this one, but one of the more compelling things that I've been learning more about more recently is that, and I would want to adjust my argument going forward, is that black capitalism works among other ways to remove black people from the labor movement. In other words, instead of black people joining a broader labor movement to benefit all working people, they are convinced by this segregated black economy. And we'll just do it on our own, and we'll be on our own because we're separated anyway. We'll just do our own thing, and then it ends up hurting the overall black labor working community because they're looking to the black capitalist elite to benefit them, and they don't, and they can't. So I think that's very interesting. Again, I'm not denying the racism and the labor movement. I'm not denying all of that. I'm not saying hold hands with anybody. I'm not none of that. But I'm saying there is a labor movement and a struggle there that I think we should be more active in.
You have to give them credit for being self-determined to even build the businesses, though.
Again, my criticism is not of black people for creating businesses. But the self-determination also exists in the black woman or man that goes to work, even if they're not owning it. They're attempting to earn money to bring back to their family, to give some self-determined power to their family, maybe their community. So what I'm trying to say is that the black business person is not more hardworking, smart, or valuable than the black consumer. What I'm saying is we all should be seen as valuable because without one, the other is useless. And we should all benefit from the wealth we create. That's all. That's really what I'm saying.
So what about universal health care? How come was that opposed to capitalism? Why can't everybody have it?
So again, it depends how you look at it. Again, remember, Dr. King and Richard Nixon supported a version of both universal health care and a universal basic income. And part of what now, Dr. King's argument was, if we have more time and resources, we can develop more radical programs. Nixon's version was, if we give them income, a little bit of income and some health care, they can't ask us for nothing else. And we can say, you're now done. You get your $1,000 a week or a month or whatever, now don't ask us for nothing else. Meanwhile, as George Jackson pointed out, hey, give them $1,000 and then raise the price on everything they have to pay for. That's what Nixon was going for. Oh, you want some universal basic income? Go ahead, give him a check. Watch where that check goes. We're gonna raise the price on the groceries and on the rent. It'll be right back over here. And then we can tell them, we already gave you $1,000 a month. What you want? Pull your bootstraps. Get to work.
Where's my boots?
That's the point. That's the point. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so my question is, just some clarification for one. So I believe you said for like a political agenda, we don't require any funding, like financial backing. Did you say that? Or?
I'm saying, yeah, I am saying that. We don't need money for political campaign.
Okay, so then my next question is, because like when you talk about money, you know, even on the lower scale, people can get hostile about that, right? So when you're trying to take someone's money away, I feel that, you know, it could be combative, right? So I'm thinking, so you need military forces, like some type of protection or something like that, because I'm pretty sure it won't, like, okay, sure, you can have that. It will be, you know, so how do you feel about that? And what do you think that's a possibility that can, you know, that can occur as well because of you wanted to redistribute wealth and stuff like that? So, is that like a thought?
It is a thought.
Okay.
And just.
And you need financial funding, I'm thinking, for that. Right?
So when I say so on the one hand, I don't want to say that.
I know. Yeah,
okay. So yes, there will always need to be an understanding of the role of the police and the military and intelligence agencies and the repressive forces.
I don't think they'd be fighting on our side.
No, I'm saying that's what's coming.
Oh yeah, because we can see that kind of playing out now, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that that's not a threat. I'm saying that we would have to be prepared to engage that as part of the reality. And that's part of the point I'm getting at, that yes, that you start talking about redistribution, people start getting uncomfortable, start reaching for the, right. On the one hand, that's why so many of my favorite people have been assassinated, exiled, put in prison. And that's also why I cannot help but understand that their argument is still correct. So, but my point though is that both militarily and politically, and again, I'm being mindful of the public nature of my comments here. You don't need as much money or any money as often as we're told to engage these struggles. So when I was in the Navy, I was on a 50 cal machine gun mount on an aircraft carrier. And if anybody understands anything about the Navy in particular, and the military in general, that should sound. Why is there a 50 cal machine gun mount on the side of an aircraft carrier? Because all of the elite level technology and defense systems are useless against low technological, slow moving threats. That's it. Leave it right there. Let that marinate.
Is your message speaking to the perpetual, indefinite integration of us in this capitalistic system or the American system, or is there an exit strategy for an independent economic system for us as a people? What is your message?
I don't see there being any independent. So I struggle with my nationalist comrades and friends all the time with this, the hardcore nationalists, because I don't see to your point, I don't see a defensible currently, I don't see a defensible national existence that is sustaining while this country is still doing its thing the way it's doing it. So this, whether it was the Black Belt thesis or some independent nation somewhere else, if the United States is still doing its thing, no other nation in the world is truly independent. So the idea that we would develop some real independence here inside of this, I don't see that, because the first thing I think of is what you were raising. And one of my biggest debates with a brother, I remember I still apologize to him this day because I did not behave appropriately in the argument, was that, he was saying if we just act like African people, we can take care of ourselves. And I said, but if you start acting like African people and withdraw the Black population from this economy in the current role it's supposed to play, they're coming. What you mean you're gonna take Black people out of the workforce, out of the prisons? You're gonna take Black people out of doing all the manual labor and all this? What do you think the response is? You got a military strategy? Oh no, brother, we just gonna Africanize ourselves, and we're gonna create this. And once we behave with each other correctly, we don't have to worry about them. And I'm like, no, that's when you will have to worry about them. Because as soon as you try to withdraw yourself from this current economy and the role you're supposed to play in it, they're definitely going in their pocket. So I just don't see that. That's why I keep pointing to we either have to have this massive confrontation, we have to have some that I would like to try to avoid by doing the very overt and legal political organizing and assumption of political power. I see you shaking your head, and I'm with you, but I'm the one on the mic, and I'm the one on camera. So while you back there and all that beautiful anonymity shaking your head, shake your head. But I'm the one that do it in real life on the camera. So we're going to do an overt, legal, political struggle that does have the militant goal of redistribution. I do at least want that. Like, we got to have that on the table. Like, it's got to be. But that's why I'm saying there's, it's going to be. Yes, please.
I'll build that conversation, though. I got you.
One other question. And this is me, because I'm a AI fanatic.
Mm-hmm.
I'll self-label myself like that. So you spoke about the laborers and stuff like that, and I feel, I don't have all the numbers and stuff to back this up, I'll say that straightforward. The dynamics are changing right now, I believe so, or whatever. We're moving more to the AI technical world and stuff like that, where we see, when you go to the supermarket, you see the self-checkout lines, less cashiers and things like that. I feel like we want to see more of that or whatever. So I'm thinking, and then with the rate of inflation, so people not being able to have jobs, people lose jobs, people get retrained. Now, if I get retrained, what do I train in? Because I don't know, you know what I mean? So these are the things that I feel like this is the now, where I feel like we are living in now. What is your take on like the now, like with the labor market, the dynamics of the labor market changing right now? Is it like being a transition?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a firm supporter of the line of argument that shows, I think, with all the historical accuracy you need, that advances in technology do not change social relationships, they exacerbate them. Yeah. So all AI is going to do is make it worse.
Yeah.
All the new technology is going to do is make it worse. So that's sort of what my point is. Don't tell me that they can automate checking and this, that, and that, and this, and then I'm going to lose my job. Tell me they're going to automate this and I'm going to live and chill and benefit off of the that's what it should be.
That's what it should be. I don't think people, to me, I feel like people want their pockets to get fatter, and so
of course,
like they don't care about people.
So look, this is my favorite example. This is my AI nightmare. So one of my closest homeboys was that used to work with me at Morgan, and was forced out. And has been struggling in the academic space to get another job. And I was hanging out with him not too long ago, and he said, and I'm sitting there, I'm a tenured full professor. You know what I'm saying? I still have my job. He's struggling. And he says, I just got a job working for an AI company, teaching them teaching AI how to teach your horses. So he said, I'm now getting paid to train the technology that's going to take the job that I used to have, that you still have, that you might not have tomorrow. Right. So we were having it's a little joke, like I still got my job. He's like, yeah, keep it. He's like, enjoy your job. Because I'm training your replacement from my living room. No, it's okay.
And so, with all that being said, China is like one of our biggest competitors and things like that. And I watched a documentary where they always said, this is when we plan on succeed in America. Do you feel like that would impact us in any way?
Probably, because and if the us is black people, is that what you mean?
Yes, that's the black.
Because if black people have been suffering this way while this country was the dominant economy. Yeah, it's gonna get when China really takes over, first of all, if you read some of the military publications, like I scour from time to time, they're retraining the military to go to war with China, and to go to war indirectly with China around all the islands. They're trying to do. But what I like, I'm not an expert on China, but what I have seen some of is that because of their political frame, they're doing more with their capitalism to produce wealth and resources for everybody. They've gotten rid of extreme poverty. They've been able to do a lot more for their people because of the previous histories of the Cultural Revolution and Mao and all that other, and the fact that they're still nominally a communist party there. But we'll have to see to what extent that is workable and to what extent it is able to expand. And then, if things get worse for this country, it's going to get worse for us, which is why we should be internationalists, which is why we should be pan-africanists, which is why we should be building with other people from other parts of the world, because wedding ourselves to this place, singularly is dangerous. I think is not a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about that time, family. Give Dr. Ball a round of applause. They was started at you, Dr. Ball. Look, my man Tahaka Bay, he coming here. Look, you got Tahaka quiet.
No, I love it.
I'm just messing around.
I respect it. And I appreciate. Thank you all very much.
So thanks, Dr. Ball. Great, grounding and taking the questions. Beautiful job. Tahaka Bay is actually coming up not too far from now, but check us out on the screen. We do this every second and the fourth Saturday of the month. Sign up for the open mic. Stop being shy. Come back. Share your talent. You understand? So again, give Dr. Ball a round of applause, y'all. I saw so much complicated business going on in this room today. I was like, for real? Bob, you got something?
And don't forget to program to I Mix What I Like, Dr. Ball's podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to share? How they can follow you?
iMixWhatILike.org. Just come through. Everything's there. Thank you again.
Yes, sir. So second and fourth, come on out, family. Bring a friend. Tasha Pratt Harris. She's coming up, and she's going to be speaking on a topic that's going to be like did Dr. Ball say all that? And then we're going to come and hear this, But the topic, police training black people as a form of reparations. So come on out, beautiful sister. Some of y'all know it. Some of y'all know her husband, Brother Carlos Harris. Then Tahaka Bay coming up, unveiling Islam, an African tradition for Pan-African empowerment. They already coming for him. Dr. Maya said she coming for you. She'll debate you on it. Yeah. She also said she debate you too. So we gonna have that here. We're gonna have that here. If you open for it, you open for it. We can have that here. Y'all open for some debates, some conversations. All right, so we open for that. Mama, what did you say? No, nothing, not at all. All right. Well, anyway, y'all give yourselves a round of applause.
And I thank y'all for coming out. I might be forgetting something, but guess what? It is what it is. Take care.
When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Black and I'm proud. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're going to get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. Become a part of it. Embrace it. Become a part of it. Embrace it. Become a part of it. Black and I'm proud. You're gonna get your mind back. When you claim you're African, you're gonna get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Black and I'm proud. Embrace it. Become a part of it. Embrace it. Become a part of it. Embrace it. When you claim you're Africanist, you're gonna get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you. When you claim you're Africanist, you're gonna get your mind back. Black and I'm proud. Claim you're African. Black and I'm proud. I'm telling you.
Hamilton Community.